welcome to A Game for Your Thoughts. Today we're talking about Firewatch. The game was made by a company called Campo Santo and came out in about 2016 and was met with pretty awesome praise. I mean, this game is pretty rad, so I'm excited to talk about it. So let's talk about it. So Firewatch is mostly a story-based game, so I'm going to spend a lot of time talking about the story. So what is the story? Well, it follows this guy named Henry who has a bunch of problems. I'm going to keep this super vague for spoilers, of course. But, so this is spoiler-free, no spoilers. But anyway, so it follows this guy named Henry, and he gets this job as a lookout in the Wyoming wilderness looking for fires. He's just watching for fires. Firewatch. Makes sense, right? So as Henry's out and he's doing his Firewatch duties, he's taking care of this forest, dealing with shenanigans, things like that. He's also in contact with this girl named Delilah, who's also another lookout in the area. And they contact through a radio, and that's kind of how mostly this game plays out, is most of them interacting through this radio, and you kind of just going out in the wilderness and exploring and kind of dealing with some shenanigans. But there's a little bit more going on, and they don't really know what. So they're trying to figure it out. I'm going to leave it to you guys to go and play the game and figure it out for yourselves. But let's kind of talk about my feelings on the story. So right off, I really enjoyed the story of this game. It was really interesting and very intriguing. The biggest thing I really enjoyed was the dialogue. The dialogue was really awesome. It was just really good kind of character building, like dialogue. It did a great job of kind of building the characters because, like I said, most of the game, it's Henry and Delilah interacting through these radios. And it really is just a lot of them just kind of getting to know each other, and it's really interesting and just kind of having goofy and silly conversations. I enjoyed it. It was really entertaining for literally the entire game. And then once kind of towards the end, once a little bit more is going on with kind of this mystery that's happening, it kind of, the dialogue definitely kind of tails off. I feel like once this game kind of hits this point, it kind of takes a hard dive. It's really weird because the whole first half of the game, you're learning about the characters, you're trying to just explore this wilderness, but there's also some other weird stuff going on. And it built some great tension, too. This game is great tension building with the gameplay and just kind of the way the dialogue is presented and just kind of the way everything is presented. It has great presentation, and it has a lot of tension. Like, I was very nervous and unsure about a lot of things for the first, half hour, 45 minutes. It's not a very long game. It takes about 3 or 4 hours to beat. But for the first hour and a half to maybe even 2 hours, I was like super intense. I was like, ooh, what is happening? Like, I didn't dare to like turn around and worry of something. And like the dialogue did a great job of building a lot of tension. I was really into it for a long time, which made the biggest bummer of this game was actually the ending. I felt like it did a great job building all this tension. It was like building a lot with these characters and things like that. And then by the end, I feel like it kind of just crashes and burns. It like really just like hits this wall, and it's just like, and then like the super gnarly thing where somebody's like smacking on the concrete. It's kind of this game. It was like, whoa, didn't see that coming, and it kind of just really fell flat for me. Like by the end, I was like going to the final destination. I was kind of like, what? Like, really? That's it? That was the end? I was just really kind of confused, and I wasn't really sure, and I even had to go on like Wikipedia, and I was like, what even happened? Like, it just was kind of weird. It just really crashed and burned really hard for me, which was a bummer because the whole first 2.5 hours to an hour and a half was really awesome, really interesting. I was super into it. And then just for it to have kind of fall flat was kind of a bummer. One good thing though, the more I thought about it, the more I was kind of thinking about the story and kind of the things that had happened, it kind of grew on me a little bit more. It wasn't as bad the more I kind of thought about it, because it kind of really makes you think. It really does make you think. And I was thinking about it a long time after I finished the game, and I was really just kind of sitting there thinking, and I was like, okay, kind of like putting the pieces together, kind of making sense of everything. And it made a little bit more sense, but it just still kind of fell flat for me. I was kind of hoping for something more. I don't know what my expectations were because I went into this game not knowing anything at all. I didn't know nothing about this game. I didn't even know what it was like until I played it. And so kind of by the end, I was kind of just trying to figure it all together, and it ended up being a good ending. I guess it just wasn't the ending that I thought it was going to be, just the way that the whole game was leading. It wasn't what it was setting up to be, which was really disappointing in a way. And this kind of comes in a few different ways. So, like I said, it kind of builds up this like tension and stuff, and kind of these characters, and then it just doesn't really go anywhere with it. And the way it does go, I didn't really like it. It just didn't really fit. Kind of came out of left field, and it was kind of just like, woo, kind of just jumped over the fence. The other thing is this game is very like choice and dialogue based. So like you have a lot of choices in the dialogue and for your character itself, especially the intro. There's all these choices you got to make at the intro, and then like throughout the game you can do certain like things to affect different situations, things like that. Like I said, keeping it super vague, but in the end, none of these choices ever really matter. You get the same ending no matter what. Maybe it might be a little bit different getting there, but in the end, it's very streamlined. It's very linear, and which was kind of a bummer because it seemed like I had some agency as a character, but then in the end, it didn't really go anywhere, and it was kind of disappointing. But all in all, it really didn't take away from that first hour and a half of the game. I mean, it did crash and burn pretty hard at the end, But that beginning hour and a half, 2 hours of the game was super interesting. I was super into it, and it didn't ruin that at all for me. It just wasn't what I was expecting, I guess. I don't really know. It's kind of a bizarre way to describe it, but it didn't ruin like that. Still, that first bit, I was so into it, and I was super excited, and it was awesome. I really enjoyed this game. It's just that ending, the lack of choices, and just kind of the sense of agency that didn't really matter was kind of a letdown for me, and it was a bummer. But in the end, it didn't ruin the great dialogue, it didn't ruin the good characters, and it didn't ruin the good tension that it built. Well, kind of ruined the tension, but it didn't ruin the other two things, so that's a plus. So gameplay-wise, this game doesn't really have a whole lot going on. It's mostly your character kind of just milling around these woods, doing stuff, and you'll like be like, hey, go check this out. And you're like, okay. And you like walk, and then you're having conversations with this girl through the radio, and just kind of trying to figure out what's going on. And then you kind of get to where you got to go, and then something happens, but like you don't really like do anything. You can interact with the world a little bit, and there's like a few like little like side quest things. I wouldn't say call them side quests, but side things that happen that are optional, and then you got to kind of go find. But exploring these woods was actually pretty rad because they look great. The graphics and presentation of this game are gorgeous. It looks amazing. I really, really enjoyed looking at it. It just has like this cool orange hue to it. Everything looks really nice, and it's got like a fun cartoony style to it. It just looks kind of like a cool little comic book almost, but it's really awesome and just is so great to look at. And you have like this little like camera you can take pictures with, and I was using that all the time because it was awesome to just go and find something really cool, and I was like click, and then during the end credits your pictures scroll up through, and it's really cool to kind of just see like all the cool places you visited and stuff like that. And it was really interesting, and I thought that was a cool little touch to kind of add like a photo mode to this really gorgeous game because it's really awesome. And just exploring it, you just see like all these cool details and things like that, and it's just really fun to just see this awesome world that they've created. Technically, there is like a dash of technical issues. I didn't have anything like major. It didn't crash at all. The biggest thing was kind of like when I was moving a little too quick through the world, it would kind of freeze for a moment and load. It happened pretty frequently, but it didn't ruin it. It was kind of just like all of a sudden like, whoa, what's happening? Oh, okay, it's just loading. I mean, this isn't like a high budget game, so it certainly makes sense, but it still wasn't anything too bad, too crazy. Just those few minor things of like kind of just loading screens, and there were some really long loading screens too. In certain areas, it just was like you'd have to kind of wait for a minute for it to load, but once you got there, it was worth it because this game looked great. So in the end, I really enjoyed the story of this game. It was really awesome. I mean, it had this really great beginning and middle. The third act definitely crashed and burned really hard, and it ruined a lot of the tension that it built, but the characters and writing were incredible. I was super invested in these characters and their stories, and I wanted to learn everything I could about them. I wanted to try all the different dialogue options just to see the fun conversations it led to. And it was all really interesting and really fun to go on this adventure. I just really wish the ending would have stuck it a little bit better, gone a different direction, or even had branching pathways depending on what you chose at like the beginning, or certain things you said or did in the middle of the game. Things like that I really wish would have had an effect on the end of the game, when in the end it really didn't, but still ended with a really good conclusion, I guess. I don't know, I have a hard time with the ending of this game. It's confusing. But with gameplay that is pretty good vessel for the story. I think it does a great job of kind of getting you from one place to the next, kind of progressing the story. It's not too interesting. I mean, it's mostly you just walking around exploring the wilderness. But thank goodness it all looks and runs really good. I mean, the few minor technical issues never caused any big problems, but the game looks great. It looks amazing. I mean, you can see it behind me. It all looks really awesome. And just in the end, I had a fun time. I wouldn't say it's like the best thing I've ever played, but it certainly was a very different experience than I thought it was going to be. I didn't really know what to expect. Like I said, I went into this game with zero expectations at all. I had no clue what to expect, and it ended up being really exciting for the first little bit. Definitely wish the ending would have been better. Definitely would have been cooler if they did something different. Like I said, I don't want to say anything because spoilers, so go and check it out for yourself. But would I recommend it? Yeah, I think go check it out. If you're really into games that are like based around a story and have really interesting characters and story, I think this game is awesome. It did a great job of building an awesome characters and had a great way of presenting it. Definitely the ending, just not my favorite. But that's okay. Maybe you enjoyed the ending. Let me know what you thought about the ending. Keep it spoiler free, of course, but just let me know. Did you like the ending? Did you not? Things like that. But yeah, in the end, I'd recommend Firewatch. It's not the greatest thing ever, but it's worth your time. So go check out Firewatch. Hey, thank you so much for watching the video. Hope you enjoyed it. I actually streamed this game over on Twitch, and it was a lot of fun, especially having some people reacting to how I reacted at certain parts of the game. It was a lot of fun. I had a good time. But go check this out for yourself. It was really interesting, really cool, and kind of let me know what you think about it. But if you want to help me out, if you want to like, subscribe, and hit the bell to get notified every time I post a new video, that would be awesome. And if you want to go check out more of my stuff, head over to twitch.tv/agameforyourthoughts to check me out there. I'm streaming all the time. I'd love to see you there. So thank you so much for watching the video, and we'll catch you guys next time on A Game For Your Thoughts.